This is Edgar Van, and tonight this is the Vantage Point. It's a great, great forum and an opportunity for us to share vital information and, of course, vital themes and issues to the community. I want someone out there tonight to share this, tell somebody, text somebody, let somebody know that, that we're here tonight. I have a distinguished panel, and I'm excited about this forum, this opportunity that we have to share with you the propriety of voting in this season and in this election cycle. We want to welcome you tonight and certainly want you to share your comments in the chat box on Facebook Live, if you will. If you're in YouTube, do the very, very same thing. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, if you will, as well, so that you will know about other wonderful forums that we have that will be coming up. The late Congressman John Lewis said this, that the most powerful nonviolent change agent that you have in a democratic society is the sacred act of voting. This is a seismic moment of truth for us all, that in the malaise of mistrust, in the throes of a pandemic, the nightmare of division and hyperpartisanship, and the maelstrom of racial inequality and injustice, there's so many things that are clouding this thing we call democracy here in America. But the most powerful individual engagement to the collective quality of life in that democracy we call America is your voice and your vote. Our taxes pay for the government, so everyone who's involved in it literally works for us. And so your voice and your vote is the privilege to choose, to evaluate, and to hold accountable those who are in positions to serve us and to protect us. Well, 2020 has been a year of transition and disruption, and it's been a year of change. We all have been forced to evaluate life in ways that we never have, and to consider what is most essential. There's over 240 million registered voters in America, and yet there are those voices that we hear that say, don't vote, it doesn't matter, it won't make a difference. Why be a part of a system, you know, that abuses us, or a system that is unfair to us? Why be a part of a system that denies our worth? Well, let me just say this to you. The system knows your worth, and that is exactly why so many attempts and forces are out there seeking to suppress, to intimidate, and to deny you of this precious, sacred right that you have to vote. Understand this, you have the power, and the power is in your hands. And we want to encourage you, inform you, infuse you, and inspire you tonight to vote. Well, I've got a distinguished panel that's with me tonight. I'm so grateful that they have joined me. All of them are good friends of mine. And so when I reached out, they were there, and I'm so grateful. I have with me tonight the Honorable Assistant Secretary of State of the state of Michigan. This is a national treasure, actually. He's a community steward. He has an unparalleled model for service to our community and to the world at large. I'm just grateful that he's here tonight. Me and him have been through many battles together.
Yes, sir.
And got the scars to show for it.
Yes, sir.
He's a brother beloved.
Yes, sir.
Esther Wheeler.
Thank you so very much, Bishop Edgar Van, and I am so excited and delighted to be a part of the Vantage Point. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. And then we have with us tonight Leslie Graham Andrews, who is certainly another community steward, a motivator, a thought leader, a great communicator, business owner, and consultant in our community. I've met Leslie many years ago when she was an executive with United Negro College Fund, and then an executive with the rocket companies and Quicken, and now a tremendous personality in our community. Good evening, Leslie.
Well, good evening, Bishop, and everyone on the panel. Thank you so much for thinking of me this evening. I'm excited. I love this type of discourse, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much. And then I've got James Booker with me. He is a community faith based organizer and mobilizer. He is state director of the Black Church PAC here in the state of Michigan, working directly with a national network and organization that is helping to organize, strategize, and mobilize the vote from the faith-based community across the nation. He too is a community activist, a longtime law enforcement professional, and a licensed minister right here at Second
Absolutely.
Church. And I'm grateful to have Brother James Booker with me on tonight. Brother Booker, good to see you, sir.
Bishop, thank you so much for having me. It is an opportunity here to share with this esteemed panel, and I am excited to talk about voting and moving forward.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. This is going to be an interactive discussion that we're going to have tonight, because there's a lot of work we need to do in our community anyway, as it relates to strengthening the consciousness of our people during times like this. These are tough times in America, and we understand that. We know that people have been through so much. There's so much mistrust. Fake is the new real. And we run into it all the time. And people have a hard time trying to figure out what to depend on, what to rely upon, what to open themselves up to. We want everyone tonight to know that voting is your right and privilege, and we certainly want you to exercise that. Now, many of you have already voted, and we're thankful for that. I need you to also know, why do we vote? Why is it important? You know, I want to throw this question at all of our panelists tonight, this distinguished group of panelists. And first to you, our Honorable Assistant Secretary of State, Wheeler. Listen, we have heard, you and I, for the last 30, 40 years, the phrase, "This is the most important election of our lifetime."
Yes.
We've heard it over and over and over again. And I believe that, I don't know about all the other elections, but I do know that this one is critical, it is crucial, and it is very important. Just tell us, what do you think about that, Secretary of State Wheeler?
Thank you again, Bishop Edgar Van. I know this is not on script, but let me just give you credit for one other thing too. I heard you do a sermon, and your theme consistent in that sermon was, if you can't handle this, you can't handle that. I have used that 3 or 4 times. I gave you credit once. After that, it was an original idea. But I am saying, this is one of those moments. Where we live should not determine if we live or die or have access to opportunity. And I don't believe anybody should live beneath their privilege. And I don't think we should ever apologize to self-determination. COVID-19 has taken the scab off of a reality that many of us live. And just like COVID-19 is a pandemic and has been declared a state of emergency, obviously poverty is a pandemic. We've yet to declare a state of emergency. Racism and rogue policing is in fact a pandemic, and we must declare a state of emergency. Young people, black and white, red and brown, yellow, have taken to the streets all across this country, every state in this union, and 60 plus countries around this world. People are crying out for fairness. People are crying out for an end to this type of disparity. People want access to opportunity. If you can't handle the history and the legacy of this reality, then you can't handle that challenge that we're issuing tonight to get to the poll and exercise your sacred franchise.
Great, great, great. I want to ask the same thing of Leslie, if you would, Leslie Andrews, if you would address that. We've been saying that this is the most important election of our lifetime. Is it? And if so, why is this so critical?
And if I may, let me add something else onto it, because it seems like there is a disproportionate amount of responsibility that seems to fall on Black women to show up and to bring it home, for lack of a better phrase. But yes, every election is critical. And each election has its own different set of circumstances that will impact our community. So yes, this one is as important and the most important in this lifetime. And so is the one coming behind it. And so is the one coming behind it as well. I think the difference with this one is that we have experienced what happens when you don't do something. We've experienced what our failures to show up, the consequences that are associated with it. And that's what happened in 2016. We began correcting it in 2018. And now we must complete the correction and level set and get the direction that we are truly going to be going in. That's going to benefit us as a community, and then do some things in between these elections. But yes, this one is as critical as the last one, and it is as valuable as the next one. And we all need to have that same value judgment as we could continue to talk about elections and voting.
All right, great, great, great. Minister Booker, you've been working with churches and with faith leaders throughout the country. I have never seen this level of organization. Is this, in fact, the most critical, the most important election of our lifetime, in your view?
Bishop, yes, sir. It's vital. And not only is it vital, it's a must. And not only is it a must, it's crucial. It's crucial because of everything that this panel has said before me. We need to get out there and exercise our right to vote. Too many people before us, they gave of their lives for us to have this opportunity to vote. And so 2016, like Leslie said, was pivotal. And we see what happened as a result of us not exercising our right to vote. Michigan, the president won Michigan by 10,704 votes. With all of the people that we have, African Americans, especially here in the state of Michigan, city of Detroit, that was an injustice. So yes, it's vital, it's a must, it's crucial that we get out and exercise our right, our God-given right to vote.
Great, great, great. I'll go back to Hester Wheeler, our Assistant Secretary of State, and I want to really get into the election integrity issues. Brother Booker just said to us that there was that 10,000 vote disparity and some change that really made the difference in that election in 2016. As we well know, we were all looking at election returns. We all thought that there was a certain trend that was taking place, especially here in our state. And we found out that somehow 10,000 votes spell the difference between victory and defeat, and of course, the Electoral College. What are you doing along with our distinguished Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson?
Yes.
What are you doing now? Tell us about the process, the integritous process that you all have pulled together for this election as never before.
Yes,
You're
sir.
working with municipalities. You're working with counties.
Yes,
You're
sir.
working with clerks
Yes.
now, as you have never done before, to ensure the integrity of this election. Tell us all about that. If
Well, and thank you, Bishop. But because of you and because of Michigan voters, in 2018, we passed Proposals 2 and Proposals 3, which basically changed the Michigan landscape. We've got these new voting rights, which enable Michigan to go from worst to first. The Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, as you well know, is an absolute dynamo. She's committed to voting rights and protecting democracy. And in addition to all things driver's license and traffic safety, which most people think of the Secretary of State relevant to her primary duties. But the fact is, we're also the chief elections officer. We have some 1,500 clerks across this state, and we have been very, very determined to make sure that we weigh in to educate and engage and make sure people are fully aware of no excuse absentee voting. That changes the landscape. Same day voter registration, that changes the landscape. Automatic voter registration changes the landscape because you don't have to register 30 days in advance, because you don't need a reason to participate in the process via the absentee process. Now, vote. This is not just about election day anymore. This is an election season. You have 40 days to participate in this sacred franchise. We began on September 24. So because that landscape has changed, because of Proposal 3, you see a much more visible, high profile Secretary of State engagement. And we're just blessed and fortunate in this moment that we've got the right one. And I'll tell you a little secret, maybe it's not a secret, but Jocelyn Benson, she does things without fanfare. You quoted the late great Congressman John Lewis. Do you know that on the day that we buried Congressman John Lewis, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, at her own expense and without fanfare, flew to Birmingham, Alabama. And on the moment his horse-drawn coffin made his final crossing of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Jocelyn Benson, the Michigan Secretary of State, was standing there in salute to this great man. And she came back that same evening, it just tells you a little something about what's in her heart. So we've been very, very deliberate, particularly in this COVID-19 environment, to make sure that every vote is protected and every vote is respected. We've made resources available. We sent PPE equipment. We partnered with clerks across this state. We've made sure that people have high-speed tabulators so we can count and process and count ballots in a timely fashion. We've enhanced training processes all across this state. You can go to michigan.gov/vote. We've got the baddest website in all of government. If you've got any questions about your voting status, your registration status, the status of your absentee ballot, has it been mailed to you? Have we received it back? All of that information now is on michigan.gov/vote. We've been very, very committed. We've initiated a dozen different programs. One is called Voting Matters, for example. In the same spirit that you hear Black Lives Matter, what we did, we analyzed all of the precincts across the state. We said, let's just start with the 100 low-performing precincts and let's learn what we can learn. And as you might imagine, 40 of those precincts are in the city of Detroit. Some 20 are in Flint. The rest are in places like Pontiac, Bay City, Saginaw, Kalamazoo, Jackson. We've been to every one of those cities in the last 18 months or so, talking to voters and, more importantly, listening to voters. And we're trying to figure out what would it take to move the envelope, why people won't participate. And honestly, Bishop Van, one of the most consistent things we heard, particularly in poor communities, Black and brown communities, returning citizens, ex-offenders, people who have been to jail or prison, they don't know that their right to vote has been automatically restored here in Michigan. So we need to say that over and over in every conversation. 30 years or so ago, we may not have necessarily known anybody that was in prison, but I bet you today half of us are related to somebody in prison, which is a reflection of the disparities in this criminalization experience. And I will never refer to it as a criminal justice experience, because it's really just us who are being criminalized by this thing that we're experiencing. So we've been paying attention, we've been listening, and we've learned a few things. We know that the more you touch, the more you talk to a particular voter, the more likely they will participate. So Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, myself, we've got a great team that we've assembled. We've been up and down 75, all across 94, and all up and about 96. We've been where people are, and we've been talking about what it takes to get involved. The last thing I'll say right now is that upon arrival, January 2, 2019, shortly after we were elected, November of 2018, Jocelyn Benson assembled most of our executive team. There's some 14, maybe 16 of us. She says, look, we're going to use all of our power. And she said, we don't have power if we don't use it. She says, I want the best ideas from each of you. And obviously, like you, I've been very concerned about issues like the driver responsibility fee and the disparate impact it has had on African Americans, particularly Detroit residents. 79,000 Detroiters lost their driver's license. I am here to tell you right now, stay tuned. We're going to do something about it. That's within our purview. I'm also here to tell you that effective immediately, every returning citizen, and nearly 9,000 people leave Michigan prisons every year. But guess what? Prior to our administration, they only left with a Department of Corrections identification. Effective immediately, everybody that leaves a Michigan prison will have either a driver's license, a state identification, and of course, a voter registration card. We're using our power, and that's just a small reflection of the kind of commitment we've been able to bring into this moment.
Wow, that's exciting. It's great that with the leadership that we have there now, and I think we all can know that just a couple of years ago, we did not have in place the commitment and the passion of the elected officials that we have today in this area, especially as it relates to our community. So I just thank God, honestly, that you are there. Thanking God that Jocelyn Benson is there, and that the state of our state, in terms of the Secretary of State, is intact. Well, I'd like to call on Leslie Andrews right now and go into a different area with her. You just mentioned the Black woman vote, and the Black woman vote was so crucial in Alabama with the Doug Jones election a couple of years ago. It has been heralded throughout media, heralded by both parties, political parties, so much so that the vice presidential candidate for the Democratic Party is a Black woman. Not only a Black woman, but a Black woman who is a graduate of an historical Black college and university, Howard University. And not only that, but certainly someone, along with many Black female mayors and police chiefs across the nation, are giving sterling leadership in this hour, in this nation. Now, you said that, you know, we have a tendency to lean and depend on Black women. Well, I know that we are because they are a very solid voting bloc. But could you just talk a little bit more about the role of Black women in this election and why Black women really should vote? And I know you got on your HBCU hat and your Cass Technical High School hat and your Spelman hat, and all of those hats are on, and fraternities and sororities. If you would just speak to that as well, as they are also being mobilized in this national effort.
It's an exciting time. We've always been aware of our power and our ability to organize and galvanize a situation. That's without question. And I also have to add that, yes, Senator Kamala Harris is also my sorority sister in Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, whom I do not represent at this moment. We all have to say that. We have to be very careful. However, I will say this, I'm wearing several hats. I'm not only wearing an AKA hat, I'm not only wearing Gamma Phi Delta hat, Spelman hat, I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. Definitely Spelman College, I'm wearing that hat as well. And I can tell you that all the conversations from those various areas have one synergy in common, which is we need to show up and we need to bring everyone with us. And when we bring everyone with us, when we show up, we must show out, which means we have to cast these votes and we have to pull the people off of the family sometimes or friends. We've got to bring information. We've got to pull them, get them to the polls. We've got to help them in every way possible. We've definitely got to take on this responsibility because it's something that truly we've always done. In my life, in the community, Black women were the heart and the conscience of the community. We took on the responsibility of making sure that everyone met their civic duty. And we're continuing to do that. It's just amazing, like in the Divine Nine, which are all of the African-American sororities and fraternities, we've galvanized and gotten together and taken souls to the polls. We're strolling to the polls. Money also is important. $19.08 in honor of our founding. We've gotten support from every single group that you could imagine. We are collectively committed to making sure that we have the best people in the White House and that everybody exercises, as my good friend Hester Wheeler says, that franchise, which is voting. It's also interesting from an HBCU perspective. So there's just waves. If you can imagine an ocean, these are waves that crash onto the shore, one after another. And with the HBCU portion of that, again, we see the responsibility that is above average in ensuring that we have participation levels, not just by our graduates, but also extended families of our graduates. Go back into your home, go into your extended family, pick up the phone, call people. I know that's really odd. If you got to text them, okay, but call your elders, call other people, making sure they're going to get to the polls. We're doing things like making sure we give rides to the polls, assisting and bringing food and assistance to those who are in lines on election day. Making sure that those who have any questions get their questions answered. The League of Women Voters are making sure that they get the proper information out there about polling sites and things that can be reported if they're improper and where you need to go. So, like women do, we collaborate, we coalesce, and then we roll out. And that's actually what's been happening and what will continue to happen. And we understand the responsibility is not just for us, but it is for our community. But I have to also say that we're also doing it because we have to set an example for the young women coming behind us. We've got to pass the baton to them, and they have to understand what the responsibility is to be at the forefront of your community, because we don't step into this role lightly. We step into this role responsibly. And we understand that, as leaders, we've got to show these young people coming behind us, specifically for me, the young women, what their role should be, including supporting those who are running for office.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to get right back to you because there's so much that we need to talk about. We need every woman to vote, every man to vote. Normally women are very influential in getting men to do the right thing when they need to do it.
Every single household.
That's right. Every single household, our young people, our children, our grandchildren, our neighbors, our friends, our relationships. And we're going to get back and we're going to talk all about that when we bring everybody together. I want to bring on James Booker at this moment. And just before he comes, I've got a short video, just 1 minute, that I want to show you.
We've been waiting for this chance to fight, to bring justice to the polls, to put our faith into action. And now, what will we do? We will rise and we will vote as an act of love, as an act of resistance. Will you join us? For your family, for your neighbors, for the oppressed, for the silenced. We owe it to all to represent at every ballot box, at every long line. We owe it to our faith to make a plan to be ready and be heard. Yes, at the top of the ballot, but also down the line for the prosecutor races, for sheriff races. Now, more is at stake than ever. Our shared values, our diverse perspectives, our quest for equality. Lead with your heart, vote with your passion, rise and vote.
We've had, caravans that took people to the polls, but I have never seen the organization, the organize, strategize, mobilize syndrome being used so effectively as I have seen this year with the faith community. I want you to talk a little bit about what the faith community across the nation has been doing as it relates to this election.
Yes, sir. I've had the privilege and the opportunity to be a convener / organizer for our faith work here in the city of Detroit and in the state of Michigan as a whole. We have a strategic engagement to reach out to bishops, lead pastors, first ladies, youth pastors, artist influencers to help us galvanize our congregations and our connections to get out and vote. I had the opportunity to lead the Midwest region. It was broken up into 4 regions: the Southern Regional, the Midwest Regional, which you and I are part of. You were the face of it, and I thank you so much, Bishop, for assisting me and helping me, move through getting the pastors to connect with us. We had the Western region, and we also had the Eastern region, and we came together as a whole to do a grassroots engagement, connect those pastors with their congregations, get their congregations excited to get out and vote. We also got them to help us with phone banking, not only phone banking, but the texting. We had text blitz. I had the opportunity to connect with about 60 pastors, 60 churches in the Detroit and Michigan area, Saginaw, Battle Creek, Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, just all over the state of Michigan. And I had a great core team, Bishop Corey Chavis, Bishop James Williams, Minister Lamar Tabb. We all came together as a core group, and we galvanized and we stuck to our mission. And our mission was to build Black independent power through leveraging that through our networks within our churches. So we did it all. And our main focus was to get our people to lead with their heart and to vote with passion and to rise up, actually just to rise up and vote, which was a part of the video that we saw. We also had Brother Willis said about his the Michigan.gov. Well, we had our platform as well. It was rocks.online/vote, and all of those things that Brother Hester said, our platform did just the same. And so it's just been a great opportunity for me. And from a faith standpoint, Romans 13 says about the government, and I had it up on my phone. Let me see if I can get that back up. It's very apropos. It says Romans 13, obey the government. This is the Living Translation. Wow, when you want something, the phone don't, your Bible don't want to act right. It says, obey the government, for God is the one who put it there. There is no government anywhere that God has not placed in power. So that's a part of what we do as faith leaders is to galvanize that power. We've been placed here, the government is here, and it is our civic duty to get out and vote. Lead with our heart, vote with passion, and get out and vote.
But as well, we have an opportunity to direct those who will govern us so that the government will be just and be fair, and the recourse that we have in it will also be for the aggrandizement of the quality of life of our people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we see that with, and I spoke about that earlier, with us being not so, with us not voting the way we should have voted in 2016, and how from 2016 to now, what has been going on in our government, what's been going on in our world, especially with the pandemic, and we find ourselves behind the 8 ball, so to speak. It's very important. I said it earlier. It's crucial, and it's a must that we get out and exercise our God-given right to vote.
Well, thank you so much. I want to bring the whole panel back together and increase the conversation and begin to talk about some of the impediments that take place, some of the attitudes that take place among our people as it relates to voting and why they don't get out. I'm looking at ballots that people have actually asked for, and I'm hoping and praying that they all come in. I hope that people understand, at this particular point, what they need to do. And Brother Hester, it's not mailing them in at this point. We're
Yes.
1 week away from the election. We've heard the reports. The United States Postal Service here in Detroit is the slowest in the nation.
Yes.
And I'm sure that there's some people who are viewing us. And while you're yet viewing us, make sure you're sharing this with someone. Make sure that someone is, of course, connected to this great conversation. But we know that we've got slow mail service. We know that it is not necessarily reliable from now, or let's say tomorrow, all the way back to next Tuesday. So what should a voter do now? What are their options?
Yes, sir. Thanks again, Bishop. Don't trust the post office. Only use the drop box. We have some 30 plus drop boxes across the city of Detroit, for example, 1,000 plus drop boxes across the state of Michigan, or go directly into the clerk's office and hand in your ballot, or wait to go to the poll. So you got 3 options as of today: drop box, clerk's office, or go to the poll. But do not trust the U.S. mail. Those drop boxes actually take the politics out of the post office. So don't even focus there anymore. And I love what Reverend Brother Booker highlighted. The strength of our community really is the Black church. And Bishop, you know it better than most. Most often, in order to get our community to go forward, they got to be lifted up first. There's so much depression. There's so much distress. And just going through the everyday life. And voting is no different. Voting is not something we do every week or every month. So you got to remind them over and over and over again how sacred this particular franchise. If there is one institution that we absolutely own and control, it is the Black church. You are the most powerful. I heard Leslie Graham Andrew talk about how powerful the Black woman is, and we don't disagree. But but for the Black preachers, y'all, you have an awesome responsibility.
Yeah.
And you live your power in so many significant ways. A lot of folk, we need you in so many different ways, and we follow you. We trust you. So if you tell us to get that ballot back to the clerk's office or to the drop box, or go to the polls and exercise social distancing, that's exactly what we will do. So you've got options, but the mailbox ain't one of them, not from through election day.
There you go.
Yes, Leslie, tell us, listen, this is a historic moment. There is a vice presidential candidate that's a Black woman. This is amazing. And can you just tell us what that may mean to you? And then tell us what it also means to other women like you.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions about that, myself and my sisters, and really the enormity of this moment is not lost on us. And it won't be on our watch that we didn't do everything possible to ensure that we actually do see this come to fruition, because we understand all the forces that are against us to prevent not only the first African-American female to be nominated and to run as vice president, but one of the most qualified people to ever be nominated as vice president. And I think that has to continually be emphasized. But for us, it just gives us that extra motivation. It is a barrier broken. It's always reflective back on our history and the women on whose shoulders that we stand. So we often talk about Shirley Chisholm and all that, because again, we didn't break through. We're not there yet. We're almost there, but we didn't break through this ceiling with just one failed swoop. I mean, we had to chip at this thing, and we had to poke at this thing, and then when Barack Obama came through, like, okay, we cracked it a little more, and we've cracked it a little more. So it's more than symbolic for us to see a woman who looks like us, who comes from the ilk that we come from, who is born of the struggles that we're born of, and whose history we share, and have that level of responsibility and access into the White House. But it's just not enough for us to get her elected. One of the conversations we were just in is like, what are we going to do when we have experienced whatever the outcome may be, but we're hoping that she is elected as vice president. What will we do then? What comes next? And how will we support her locally to ensure that that administration is able to do the things that they have proposed that they will do? It's not enough for us to say, tell me what you're going to do for me. The reality is they have an agenda. What are we going to do to make that agenda actually come to life and to positively impact our communities? So right now, what we're doing is making sure that everybody votes. One of the other things that, and I pick up all kinds of little things to do. One of the things I did was cut a video to show where our local box was for my zip code to drop off your ballots over by Palmer Park. So one day I'm over there filming a video and posting it to Declare Detroit. They asked me to be a community representative, and I jumped out in front of a box and I had on my Cash Tech shirt and I said, listen, you don't even have to go to West Grand Boulevard. You can come right over here to Palmer Park. If you're riding a bike, put it on your bike, ride it over here. If you're walking, walk it over here. Just whatever we can do and be aware. And the last thing I really want to say for the reason why this is so critically important to me is because I need my little young cousins that are girls to see something early enough in their life that they can replicate it when they get to my station.
That's good. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have to see it.
Yes.
They absolutely have to see it. They have to see it. They have to see me participating in bringing it forth. And then they have to see the outcomes of the work. They have to really understand what the defeat in 2016 meant.
Yes.
And because I know they're watching me. And I believe that every single time I open a mic, I hit a stage, I embark in a conversation. Every interaction is critical. And I really need little young girls to see that this is doable and we will make it happen.
Correct.
Great. That sounds great. Well, listen, in 2008, there was a great deal of excitement with the election of Barack Obama. And there was a great deal of excitement and voter activity within the African-American community. I know that, Brother Booker, you remember how churches were also galvanized in that moment. But here in Detroit, my understanding is that there was only a 55% turnout of the electorate here in the city of Detroit, even for the 2008 Barack Obama election. I don't know what this year's is going to be, but how do we maintain a level of engagement and a level of excitement, or at least a level of responsibility and obligation that is going to stir our people to understand, why this is so important. We're 1 week away from this election, and we still have people who have not voted. We're wondering how many people are going to actually show up at the polls this time because of the different options that we have. But what would you think is that one thing that we ought to tell? And I just heard Leslie really give a great one as it relates to our young people. And our young people are a great part of this. We want their participation as well. What's that one thing that you think motivates or should motivate our people? It looks as if, we will run to a whole lot of other stuff going on in the community. We will recreate ourselves. We will entertain ourselves.
Yes,
we will medicate ourselves.
Yes, sir.
But the simple right of voting.
Yes.
You mentioned Palmer Park. Wow, that's where I voted. And to be able to put it in the drop box took all of 5 seconds for me to get out of the car. And I didn't even have to do that. Had I turned in the other way, I could have just put my hand out of the window and done it. But what's that one motivational thing that you think that we ought to send tonight as a message to our people who may still be grappling somehow with whether or not they want to participate?
Hope. I still believe in a place called hope. I think if we're looking to the future and we believe that there are possibilities, whatever your motivation might be, I think that's what we have to remind people that you said it earlier, Bishop. Politics matter. Who we elect matter. It determines who we select, who gets appointed, who gets anointed in the political experience. It determines who gets contracts, who gets vendoring experiences, who gets jobs, how many days we go to school each year, if or not we have a school in our neighborhood. All of that is tied to hope. It impacts how easily it is to keep our families together or to get our families back together. I think it's hope. There ain't no. I think it might be different for a lot of people. There ain't no. I know you're looking for one word, but mine is a lot more broad. But I can tell you that we've got some 450,000 plus registered voters in the city of Detroit. Over 100,000 have already exercised their right to vote. Typically, the absentee process is about a third of the total participation in the city of Detroit. If that's true in this moment, that means we might get close to 300,000 of our voters to the poll, which is huge. And I don't know if 55% is a pure 55% because of the migration patterns out of the city and how long it takes to clean up voter rolls. I think we perform pretty evenly with Livonia and Clinton Township and other communities. I think it's really probably 65 to 70%, but you've got so many people that have died or have moved on, and the rolls are not as clean or as accurate as they could be. So I think we're doing fairly well given the fact that we continue to lose a lot of citizens, and typically the citizens who are first to leave are typically better financed, better educated, and they definitely vote. You follow me? So we've got a different strategy we have to engage. We got to listen to people more than we lecture. We got to go to people who might not normally participate, and we've got to tie voting to their reality. Give them reasons to hope and believe in the future.
That's great. Brother Booker, what do you think about that? We're going to come back to Wesley.
Yeah, he just said it. The future, our future. What does our future look like? Hope, and then our future. Just based on what we're dealing with right now with this pandemic, it affects people of color at a high rate. I don't know what the statistics are, but I know it's high, and especially our seniors, and now it's affecting our kids. So I think that in and of itself should motivate us to get out there and exercise our right. I mean, we cannot deal with another 4 years of what we've been dealing with the past 4 years. It's crucial. I think that our future depends on it. We have to vote. Yes, I've been hearing that so often. We got to vote like our lives depend on it, right? Yes, well, it does. It literally does. Our future depends on it, and the African American vote is crucial. It's crucial that we get out and exercise our right, Bishop. I think that's what's most important. Our future.
I think what I'm hearing, and I want Leslie to really explore this. What I'm hearing is that our voting and who we put in office, of course, determines public policy. And it is policy, of course, that rules our lives, that gives us a certain quality of life, a certain level of freedom, and also distributes the kinds of resources that come from our tax monies that are designed for us to have. I was very disappointed in our census that this is going to chart the course for economic resources to our city for the next 10 years. And so as it is with the census, it's also with voting in terms of our ability, again, to determine our destiny and quality of life as it relates to policy. Leslie, talk about policy. What does policy mean to us? I know a lot of people may not quite understand what that means. Let's explain it. Let's explore it.
Well, and I have to say that I was listening to both of you, and the policy part of it is critically important. But I have to add this piece: we've got to factor in the social condition.
Yeah,
The reality of the situation is all these policies that are created, all of the systems that are put in place, all of the resources that are expended to get people to the polls, to get them to complete the census, and those types of things are well intended. I'm going to grant that. But we're not dealing with some of the facts of what the community really is going through right now. Like, I still understand we have anywhere from 44 to 47% of functional illiteracy in our community.
Sir.
that's true.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can't vote if
That's
you
right.
can't read.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
You can't get to to access the resources that have been allocated for you if you don't even know how to read the directions on where they're located and how to get to them. Another social condition is homelessness and shelters. You're not going to get these things mailed to you if you don't have an address. I mean, and we know disproportionately these things impact the African American community, especially in the city of Detroit.
So
And these
true.
are some of the things that I think need to happen in between elections before it becomes this crucial. Because when you get down to the wire where we are right now, where we're turning over rocks and beating bushes and making sure we get everybody to the polls, when the work that should have been done in between was ensuring that they could at least even read the ballot,
Bless
Here we
you.
go.
that they could even be reached somewhere, that they had the ability and transportation to get to a poll or get to a polling place. I mean, we've got to deal with the connection between poverty and being able to exercise your rights,
That's right.
because that is a disproportionate impact on how we get to these moments where we find ourselves today, where we are happy that over 100,000 have returned these ballots. But in the back of our minds, we also know that there's probably another 150,000 that we've missed simply because they are no longer a part of the working system, because they don't have the necessities that are required in order to be functional in this process.
So true.
That's good.
And we're not, and again, I don't know when that happens, but I suppose, I submit, I propose that it happens November 4th.
Yes.
It
After-
happens the day
Yeah.
after we
Yeah.
have
That's right.
completed this task at hand, that we pick up this next mantle to ensure that this next go round, because again, we stated earlier that the next election is going to be the most important election of our life, because
Right.
they all are. But
Yes.
what's more important is we should see more people a part of the process.
I agree. Can I jump in for a quick second?
certainly.
Absolutely.
I got one cousin, we call him Pookie. Pookie, he don't really check in until he needs something. When Pookie come over, I know it's gonna cost me. And so I've been trying to tell him for years. I say, look, Pookie, if you and I gonna have a relationship, you got to build the relationship before you need me.
Yeah.
And I believe
Right.
that same thing is true, Leslie and Bishop and Brother Booker. I know we are all committed to righteousness and trying to do good things, and we help a lot of people. But one of the challenges is sometimes the amount of assistance needed and the amount of assistance that we can provide is just not at the scale of the problem. We've got not just poverty, it's overwhelming poverty.
That's right. That's right.
I know that what you say is so true, Leslie. We've got, we were negotiating this returning citizens policy, and I was saying it's nice to make a voter registration card and state ID available to people getting out of prison. But guess what? Voting is not the first thing they care about once they come home from prison.
Exactly.
That's
They
right.
need a place
That's
to
right.
live. They need access to opportunities.
Exactly.
So
That's
if
right.
we don't put resources in their hand or help them connect to resources, that's not a sustainable relationship. It's a feel-good moment. So-
Absolutely. And again, you know, they'll risk their life for having fun. They'll risk their life
Yeah.
to go have some fun, but won't move their feet to work for freedom.
That's
We've
right.
got to
right. Uh-oh.
we've got to
Uh-oh.
elevate the responsibility. And when they're coming out, we're going to forgive your transgressions and everything else, but this is the responsibility of your returning citizenship. And this is how we're going to help you. And this is how we're going to benchmark and see and make sure that you can be a part of a process that's going to benefit you. I can't hold you responsible for something that you do not understand and you cannot comprehend.
So very true.
That's
So
true.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, I think that education process in between elections is so vitally important. I
That's
know
right.
I'm telling my age, but I remember in school, right here in Detroit, and I went to Detroit public schools. And at that time, We
And
had
so did I.
mock voting booths. We
So did
had
I.
civics
right.
classes. We
That's
had
right.
all kinds of everything that you're doing at the Secretary of State's office was at the school,
Yes, sir.
so that
Right.
we could do and learn what we needed to learn. Churches were mobilized, Brother Booker. We were
That's
in
right.
a position to many of the churches, and many of them still are used as polling sites.
That's
right.
And so there was a lot of push toward us voting at that time, but not just voting, but knowing what we were voting for,
Right.
knowing who we were voting
Yes,
for.
sir.
Yeah.
And you know, these days, a lot of people, they don't know their what district they're in. They
That's
don't
right.
know what city council person district they're in. They don't know what Wayne County Commission district they're in, what state rep or state senate district they're in. Those are 4 different districts.
That's
Sometimes they overlap, of course, but they don't know one elected official from the other, nor their responsibility. Sometimes there are people who run for offices that are not fully aware of the delineation of those roles.
That's true.
And not really keen on policy. I
That's
think
right.
that voter education is less
Voter education.
spread in the middle of the election. That begins November the 4th.
That's
So
right.
we got municipal elections, city elections on next year.
Next year, yes.
It begins then for people to be cognizant of issues, cognizant of their own quality of life, and you know, what do they get from this? What's
right.
their takeaway from the exercise of their expression in voting as well? So there are churches that really need is a great place for education, as our good brother Wheeler has said. You know, so much came out of the church. You know, the civil rights movement. Many of our colleges and universities,
That's there.
CU,
Yes, sir.
had their foundation in the church. You know, the early trade and union movement had its the meetings
right.
in the church, the organization in the church.
That's right.
Many of our foundations and community organizations and others had that foundation in the church. And the church has got to do a whole lot more in terms of reconnecting to its rich legacy of community involvement. What do you think about that, Brother Booker?
Yes, I do. I think November 4th is, it will be time for us to actually put our real boots on the ground and get to work. That is actually when the work will begin. And Black Church Pact, we have those initiatives already in place so that we can do some training and get our congregations together so that we can teach them what we need to do moving forward. So that's very important.
And Bishop, if I could squeeze one thing in
Sure.
there, if the church, if the one thing that I would love to see the church do is to convene all the stakeholders who can actually address the problem. So that means the public school district. That means nonprofits that deal directly with the homeless population. Nonprofits that have been, you know, designed to deal with adult literacy and tutoring. Obviously city government, everybody in one room saying,
That's
how
right.
do we get more of the disenfranchised individuals who are citizens of the city of Detroit to actually exercise their rights? 1, make them aware, 2, make them capable, and 3, ensure that they participate. And
Right.
that to me is a shared goal,
That's
because
right.
all boats will rise if we even make a stab at it and we even chip away at it. You'll
Yeah.
have more people participating in the process. You'll have more people moving the needle in a direction that benefits all of the citizens. And then people won't feel so, you know, ambivalent. They won't feel so left out of the process, which then translates into my vote doesn't matter, which translate to I don't trust this, I can't do this. And then they literally are not a part of the solution. They are voluntarily walking towards being part of the problem. And part of it is because we have not given them the things that they needed and held them accountable once we gave them to them. And the church can convene all those stakeholders and lay it plain and really get people activated in a way that no other entity in our community can.
I can tell you this too. We do have, well, first of all, Bishop, I'm not just saying this because we're looking at each other right now, but you're like you're a preacher's preacher because you show so many preachers can learn how to do things. I think we've got so many preachers that are doing so much. Bishop sits on more boards and more community initiatives than most preachers, and that's really a part of the solution. You gotta you if you want to change the system, you can't do it from a distance. You got to be in the mix. You follow me? And churches are the center of communities. It's the center of life. I just think we've got to grow the next generation of pastors. I don't let nobody criticize.
That is it.
I don't let nobody criticize preachers or churches.
Yeah.
I know what to do. You follow me? When I say what
Yeah.
people say, well, the church ain't doing this, the church ain't doing that. Churches are doing a whole bunch. The challenges are overwhelming. You follow me? So, but I can tell you one other I'm going to segue to a solution that I would encourage all of us to continue to focus on. It's young people. We've identified some 350 young people in between Detroit and all of Southeast Michigan. They vote, particularly between the ages of 18 and 35. They vote at a rate of about 12 to 15%. That's our secret weapon. And same-day voter registration works for young people more than it works for anybody else. So I'm encouraging you to keep your hand in the heart, keep your hand in the life of young people. Do something that encourages young people to get into the process. I told you earlier that they will show up at the very, very last minute. And that's just the way they operate sometimes. So same-day voter registration is a level set. It levels the playing field or improves access for them. So don't give up on young people. I think obviously young people and hope are all connected.
I think that's so very, very important. And I want all of the young people who may be viewing us on tonight, don't get spooked by the gray hair or the bald heads or the
that's right.
gray beards and all that kind of stuff. Tonight, we once did not look like this.
That's right.
We once were young, but we got involved when we were young. We got excited when we were young. We participated and engaged civically in our communities. We sought to make a difference. And as we grew older and became more mature, we were in a position to really, really make a true difference in our community. It's one thing to protest what's not going on. It's another thing for you to be a part of the process that makes good things happen. Protests are great, they're fine, but yet the conditions remain. And we believe that this is a ripe and an opportune time for young people to get involved. That statistic disturbs me, Brother Wheeler. That statistic disturbs me that if we're not getting the level of participation among our young people that we need to get, we want that to happen, whether it's Black women helping young Black women, whether it's Black men standing up and helping other young Black men. It's the church standing up and helping its members and its community and connectors and partners. It's our organizations, our fraternities, sororities, nonprofits, all of us working together.
All of us.
Making a difference and making a demand on our people. Sometimes we walk away, we don't say anything. People say certain things. I think we were talking before about some of the celebrities. And I'm tempted to call their names, but I'm not going to call their names. I'm trying to be nice. But some of the celebrities that I've heard in our community, Black celebrities, who are going around and saying that they've never voted before, or this is the first time they're going to vote. These are full-grown folks.
In their 40s.
And icons in our community that young people listen to, that young people look up to. And we want to change that narrative.
We have to change that.
Who don't understand that the people died so you could have the choice.
That's right.
Not died for you to have the vote, no question, but died for you to even have the choice, to exercise the option and the responsibility of your actions as you are elevated into the lives of young people. They're watching you and they're doing what you do.
That's right.
And I have to say, there's not a whole lot of history conversations about what blood was shed for the vote. The longer, the further we get away from those times, it just seems like pieces of the history seem to fade away. and you
Wow.
you forget the responsibility of the action, and then you're more looking for the convenience of exercising the action. It was never intended to be convenient.
No,
You know, it
nor was it.
voting has never not happened. Civil wars were going on and people still voted.
Still
And you
voted.
know, they've overcome much higher obstacles than I can't get off of work. And I'm not minimizing those who have to work 2 and 3 jobs and
That's
simply
right.
don't have the access to vote. But
Right.
that's just one more situation that must be mitigated so we can make sure that they can exercise this right that people that preceded us died for so they could have it.
Well,
That's right.
I think you said something also, Leslie. Like, you know, young people are looking at you. They're looking at us also. They're looking for direction. They do want to be a part. They're looking for a solution or a pathway forward. They're looking at, how did you figure it out? They want you to sort of pay attention to them. You follow me? I think they will participate, but we do have to organize and touch them. I think I gave the statistic earlier. Over 20,000 people have taken advantage of this new voting right called same-day voter registration. Over half of them were under the age of 30, and hundreds of them were, in fact, ages 18 and 19. So I am saying they will participate, but there's a natural law called scarcity. In fact, I have a book on my shelf right here called Scarcity. The subtitle is Why Having So Little Means So Much. And I think one or two of you might know what I mean. Like when we were up against the exams, or we had to get that 10-page paper complete.
Yes,
That's
Lord.
right.
It was
That's
the
right.
night before when we really did
Yes.
the work, right? But that's when why having so little means so much. That's when it matters. That's because you're out of time. When you're out of time, you typically can do some of your best work. So don't give up on these young people. We've got 7 more days, and over these next 7
That's right.
I would prioritize young people. I would do something to touch or push. I'm telling you, you're related to somebody who will not participate unless you call. And I called Pookie earlier today. I say, Pookie, I need you now, because Pookie
That's
ain't gonna
right.
vote unless I call him, and I might have to go get him and take him to the poll. But I'm just saying, keep pushing, everybody. Let's
And,
keep.
You know,
and we need to find different ways to incentivize that group.
That's very true.
If we
Very
can
true.
have lobbyists up and incentivizing people in Lansing to do their job that they've been
That's
elected
right.
to do, then we can certainly find a way to incentivize our young
That's right.
people to
We
do
can.
something that will benefit them for the long haul. We've
That's
got
great.
to speak their language, meet them where they are, incentivize a particular behavior, and then assign the responsibility for them to do do the same for those who are coming behind them.
Question.
We have covered
That's
so
right.
much tonight. This has been a truly productive and fruitful discussion. I want to get a last word from each of you. Hester, you talked about time, and our time is just about run out.
Look at there.
And it goes by real fast when you're having fun, when you're really engaged in a conversation. You know, a lot of times, even on social media, we don't always have intellectually stimulating conversations.
Bless you, brother.
That's something that I always long for. And so I think it's great for us tonight to be able to have a substantive and productive conversation here that is really going to chart the course of our future, shape the quality of our lives, and certainly make us respectful to those ancestors, Leslie, that we've been talking about on tonight. I'd like to hear just a last word from each of you as we close out tonight. James Booker, I want to bring you back first from the Black Church PAC, organizer, motivator, and certainly a convener of faith-based organizations in this community as it relates to this election. What's your thoughts?
Lead with your heart, vote with passion. Organize, optimize, and strategize. Those are your words, Bishop.
Go ahead on,
And also,
brother, man.
we got 7 days left.
Yes, sir.
We got a lot of work to do in 7 days. I'm looking for people to help me out with phone banking. Reach out to me if you're available within the next 4 or 5 days. I can get you connected, get you going. That's to the young folks as well. And also text blitzing. The young folks love to do that. And so those 2 things right now is a part of my priority leading up to November 3rd.
Give us a way to contact you. Brother Booker, give us a way to contact you.
Okay, you can reach me at James Booker 59. That would be my email address, jamesbooker59@gmail.com. Or you can reach me by phone at area code 313-401-9661. 313-401-9661. Blitzing and telethon.
All right, that sounds great. I'm going to ask Leslie if you would just give us your closing thoughts and any contact information you'd like to give out tonight.
The word that just permeates my soul is responsibility. I am responsible to model the behavior that I want other young people to follow. I am responsible to model the behavior that I want young girls specifically to see and to model. I am responsible to the legacy of my ancestors or what they passed on to me, and they created this opportunity, and to maintain the opportunity that they have passed on to me. And finally, I am responsible to the process and to the system to hold it accountable, to make it more effective, even on behalf of those whose situation I don't share right now. You know, I have been blessed on multiple levels, but I still feel responsible for those who haven't had all of the opportunities that I've had. And I'm going to meet the responsibility of this moment every single time, non-negotiable, show up. And that's really what I have to share with everyone is the responsibility of this moment is so critical. It's so crucial. We have to do this, but we have to do this every time.
That's right.
If anyone wants to reach me, they can Instagram at Leslie G. Andrews, Twitter at Leslie G. Andrews, Facebook.com/Leslie Graham Andrews, email Leslie Y. Graham @gmail.com, and even on my phone, 313-595-5226. Number I've had for 19 years.
There we go.
You can find me, and I will show up.
That's great. That's great. I'm going to close out with our Assistant Secretary of State, who I'm so well pleased and proud of. We have our first Black Lieutenant Governor as a part of the cabinet and in the state of Michigan, of course, Garland Gilchrist.
Yes, sir.
We're very, very proud of as well.
No
And
question.
we also have an Assistant Secretary of State right from the city of Detroit.
That's right.
I think the West Side.
West Side.
What's that?
Hester Wheeler, will you give us that charge that we need?
Thank you. Thank you so very much. God is so good. Bishop, this has been a robust and wonderful discussion, and so very, very necessary. So I just appreciate your ongoing leadership. Please keep on keeping on, sir. The next time I quote you or use a piece of one of your sermons, I promise you, and with witness, I'm gonna give you credit on the spot. And Leslie, you know you are something. I can feel your conversation. That's a unique quality when people talk and it moves your heart, and you do that very well. So what a pleasure to be on a panel with you, sister. Brother Booker, you got the power, doc, in the Black church. So two things, resources, michigan.gov/vote, michigan.gov/vote. That's a resource I want all of you to write down. I ain't giving you my cell phone number because Negroes be calling me trying to get an appointment at the Secretary of State office. But Tabitha and Rhonda know how to get to me. And they've done it very well. But the last thing I'll say, though, when people ask us how long we fight, there's really only one answer. We fight until we win. And if we want our young people to enjoy all of the benefits of the sunshine, we must walk in the light. And when we vote, we walk in the light. When we use our power, we walk in the light. Thank you so very much for having me.
Well, this has been a great, great time tonight. And I hope, my highest hope is that you've been inspired tonight, you've been lifted tonight, you've been encouraged tonight to exercise your right to vote. And even if you've already voted, that now you've got more information, you have more comfort, you have more confirmation of why you did the right thing. Well, we're going to start on November 4th with that education process that we've talked about, helping our community to truly understand. We're going to start on November 4th, attacking and assuaging those social determinants that Leslie talked about tonight that often cause many people not to be able to exercise that. We're going to start November the 4th in our churches, as Brother Booker has talked about, for us to begin not only to intelligize, but to organize and optimize and mobilize. And
There we go.
Go ahead, preach
I
it. Go
got
ahead,
all
preach it.
together, but I'm not going to give them all to you.
Go right ahead. That was good.
To make sure that our churches and the leadership from our churches, the following, the congregations, and the people that are served in the community, if we can lead people in food distribution and COVID testing and all of the wonderful things that we're doing right now, we can lead them to the polls so that they can exercise their vote. We're going to start November 4th as our good brother Hester, our Assistant Secretary of State, the Honorable Hester Miller, has told us tonight that we have an opportunity to make history, and we don't have to just take it anymore. We can literally make history, and we have an opportunity in 7 days for that to happen. There is hope, and I think that's been the overlying theme over everything that's been said tonight. There is hope. There is a better way. There is a more excellent way. We can do this if we do it together. Yes. This is Edgar Vann, and this is The VANNtage Point.
The VANNtage Point.
Good night.